Hello everyone, this is me, Springtrap24. Now, you'll notice that I was able to click fast, and I was able to achieve 140 clicks per second several times. Now I'm going to show you how you also can achieve a higher CPS just like me. So, here is a beginner's step. When you tap a screen, you're basically just starting off with one finger. To see that tap, that means I'm tapping with one finger. And the faster you tap, the number actually increases. You see here, fast, 7.34 clicks per second. Now adding another finger is also pretty easy too. You just do it with the other hand. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And if you try to do this fast, look, look how fast it is. Now the thing is, an average human limit is about 13 to 40 clicks per second. But if you practice or exercise your fingers, you can do this. See that? You can actually see a higher CPS. You saw that 17, you saw that 18 I made. So basically what I just did here is I tried going fast with only just using two fingers. Now if you're playing a rhythm game, this could be this could be your practice, because if you want to see what the level of the first if you want to see what the level actually looks like, you can go here and practice the rhythm. Let me try to place up a rhythm. A fast rhythm requires practice. That's why starting slow is a great way to do. Now, oftenly I did that when I was like 10 or 11. And then I started getting used to tapping with all I started getting used to tapping so much during the age of 11. Now that I'm 12 years old, I'm already a master. Now how did I become a master so fast? Well, you see, I first start with two fingers, which helped me tap really fast. This is what most people use, just two fingers. See that? Just two fingers. The thing is, though, but if someone challenges you to try and get past 20 clicks per second, that is almost impossible. Oh, you saw it at 19? Saw it at 19 I made? Now I got a 17.72. So what can you do? You might say, just add more fingers. Yes, that is also possible. You see, if you were to drag your hands, if you can move your hands, you can apply that to clicking. Oh, you see that? Saw what I just did? I was able to get a higher clicks per second. See that? So what you do is you're going to put 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. Saw what I just did? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's like this is called a rolling technique. If a level you're playing is too fast, you can convert it to others. You can convert it to more fingers. Like if you want to do it this fast, if it gets too fast, you can do this. It's basically the same rhythm. You just gotta figure out the pattern. Just gotta figure out the pattern. If it's fast, you just switch to the next finger. And when the next sub rhythm starts, you switch to another finger. So here's what I just did. So if I could do two fingers on this one, then I could also do this. Well, this. I practice the rhythm just using three fingers. If a rhythm only converges to two, tap like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See that? It's just so easy. But if it's just constant tapping, you can actually add two more. This is known as following the laws of powers of two. If you know your powers of two, you can apply these to the amount of fingers. See, this is 2 fingers. This is 4, because this 4 is 2 squared, and this is 8. Notice that notice the number is already getting very high, even with 8. So how do you apply even more fingers? Well, there's this thing called multi-tapping. So let's say you're tapping once to tap, and if you want to tap two, if you want to do 2 clicks at once, you add another finger. So it's just like hitting one but with 2 fingers, like this: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. See that? The number actually increased. So if I were to do this only 1 finger, watch as I add another finger. The number increases to 8. That's because the fingers I'm using is following this order. In a specific tempo I'm using 1 finger, which is why I got 4 clicks per second. By adding another finger, I'm adding another 4 clicks, which got me to 4 plus 4 or 8. So with this speed of tempo, if you decide to add more fingers, it follows a general rule of 4x, where x is the number of fingers you have. If you do 3 fingers, the number skyrockets to 12. If you do 4, the number skyrockets to 16. So what happens? So what happens if you try to do all fingers? Well, that would be 4 times 10 or 40. Oh, it's unlikely to appear, but it's probably because, well, here it's probably unlikely, but in some places you could see 40, but on this one it's slightly laggy, so it either gives you a lower or even higher clicks, like 56.45. Now, what if you indexed multi-tapping like this? You might have noticed the extra multi-tap is right at the top, while the constant tapping is at the bottom. Now, what do? Same thing. Count the taps in the rhythm. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. I realized in the rhythm there are only 5 taps. So by doubling it, all I need is 5 fingers. Now, how do I figure out what the actual pattern is? What you see here, well, we also use sub-rhythms. Let's split the rhythm into half. This sub-rhythm 1 is 2, 3. And then the next rhythm is just 1, 2. In this case, the starting point should be 3, and the last point should be 2, meaning on one of your hands you should have 3 fingers as first, and the other hand has 2. So if you index multi-tapping like this, you can also do this. Notice the tempo actually remains the same even with this pattern. You can practice this more often. Now, what if it's constant multi-tapping like this? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Notice something? Each pattern follows a general rule of 3 taps. So what I'm gonna do is on one of my hand, I'm going to use 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Now the thing is, now the difference of indexing. This is what's called rolling fingers, and I'm gonna explain to you how to convert indexing to rolling. So indexing, you just do it like this: fast, but small amount of fingers. Rolling is just slower speed but more fingers. And you see, if you apply these on a tempo, they actually remain the same thing. So what you do is when you want to roll, you convert each tap finger pattern into the amount of fingers in a whole pattern. Next, what you can do is you have to divide your speed by 2. You have to divide your speed by 2. So when you want to do this, you can also do this. The BPM actually, the tempo actually remains the same, even tempo actually remains the same, even with more fingers and a slower speed. Index is, that is the difference of indexing and rolling. Now wait, how can you make a rhythm while rolling? So let me get this straight. What if you try to do this? You saw that? If you want to do if you want to make a pattern more like an offbeat, if you just stay at the same rhythm like this, it's impossible. If you want to go like 1 2 3 4 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. Do you see that? The rhythm at the start was offbeat before turning normal at the end. So what should you do? Well, you should follow. Well, you have to insert the constant tapping into your hands. It's like this. So if you cut if you cut the rhythm into equal parts, that's the same as dividing number, like a constant tapping. Now what do you do? Now what do you do? How can you convert your multi-tapping into a constant? But here's what you can do. If you combine two rhythms, your constant tapping and the offbeat tapping like this. 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. Try to make the tapping louder so that way you can recognize where the multi-tap should go. It's like 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. Notice something? Notice something? Notice something? That louder tap, that's where your multi-tap is gonna go. Now when you apply multi-tapping, it's gonna look like this. 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. And there you go. You just made another rhythm. Now what about triple? Now what about those rhythm? Now what about those rhythms? Now what about those rhythms where it's just? Now what about those rhythms where the entire rhythm is split into equal parts? Like if you want to divide your rhythm by 3, that is called a triplet. But dividing it by 5, that is a quintuplet. Or 7, that's called the septuplet. And but how can you do that? Well, we all know dividing something into equal parts are easy to do that. We just drive a hole and we just split one, another one, and then another one. But how does that make rhythms easier? Well, think of it this way. Think of it as clicks per second, like you're actually seeing it right here. One click per second looks like this. Well, I'm not exactly hitting one, but if I go, but that's actually a risk for me because I might lose my burst. And this is what 2 clicks seconds per. Now, what do? You just have to remember what 1 second, how long or short 1 second is, and you have to convert that to the amount of taps. So, if you increase your speed, the number, and if you try to if you change your speed enough that the number will be close to a natural, you will find your natural speed. You will find your natural integer speed. This is 2 clicks. This is 2 clicks per second. Now what about 3? Now what about 3? Now what about 3? How can you do 3 clicks per second? If you can do 4 clicks, which is doubling again, and 8, and 16 and 32. Wait, I forgot how to teach that. So the thing is, if you want, so the thing is, if you can index 2, you can roll 4. But what happens if you index your rolling? It looks like this. Notice your speed actually skyrocketed. It left the 10s, well, 20s, and it got to the 30s. Now what you do is that you have to do the converting again, slowing your speed down but doubling the amount of fingers. So it's like this is like 2. What you do next is now, since you're using 4 fingers, you're going to use 8. Now it looks like this. You can also do the same to your thumb, like this. The bottom part is the thumb, and the edge taps on my pinky fingers. You will actually have to learn how to roll other fingers in order to do this, which might need finger exercises. So yeah, back to the CPS part. You will need to draw a specific. You will need to draw a hole and cut it into 3 parts on a device, and then play it with the line. And if a line passes another line, you hit. Now, 3 clicks per second, and if you find out that 3 clicks per second sounds like this, yes, this is 3 clicks per second. Now what about 5? Well, do the same thing. You can also find that out based on the BPM. If there's no line you can use, just find out what the BPM. Now specifically, 1 beat per second is the same as 60 beats per minute. So the general rule is 60x, where x is actually just the power of 2, where x is just any power of 2. If x is equal to 2, as in 2 clicks per second, the BPM is 120. If x is 4, which in 4 clicks per second, the BPM is 240. Now if you try to apply the rolling technique, the BPM actually skyrockets past 1000. Now saying BPM actually feels like a super fast beat. So instead of beats per minute, you can say clicks per minute, because beats per minute only relies on the song's original tempo, instead of how many beats are actually there in a second. So converting clicks per second to clicks per minute means multiplying whatever the clicks per second is by 60, and that will be converted to clicks per minute. Now what will happen if you try to do lower than 60, say 30 clicks per minute? Now to convert to clicks per second, you would have to divide by 60, and 30 over 60 is the same as 1/2, which will mean 1 click every 2 seconds. Now instead of saying 0.5 clicks per second, which will make no sense, you can say 1 click every 2 seconds. So if you want to say 1 click every 3 seconds, that means there's 1/3 clicks per second. And that will also mean that the CPM would be 20. Following this pattern, the CPM will continue to drop, and the CPS will start to drop into deeper fractions. What if that number is a multiple of 60 but not a power of 2, like 1920 is a multiple of 60, but if you divide it, you won't get a power of 2. You won't, but if you divide it by 60, you actually won't get a power of 2, because you actually won't get a power of 2. Hmm. Wait. Actually, yes, that is a. Okay, no, not that. I meant one. Let me think. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It's not 1,920. Say 1,200, because if you divide that by 60, you get 20. But 20 is actually not a perfect power of 2. So how do we handle this BPM? Well, if you notice here, 20 is actually a very easy number to find. If you if you can master 5 clicks per second, they can just double that tempo twice to get to 20. Doubling twice means quadrupling, which is also means multiplying by 4. And because 5 times 4 is 20, you can actually easily do this. We all know 5 clicks per second is this. And by doubling it, we get this. Now, 2 fingers on 20 clicks per second is not possible. So, we will use the rolling technique. Saw that 20? Yes, that's 20 right there. So, yes, that's 20. That's 20 right there. If you remember the tempo for 5 clicks per second, then you can also remember what 20 clicks per second, just based on how much you can double your speed. Another way to think of this number is that if you factor out a number that is a power of 2, you can find a space that is not a power of 2 and master it before using that power before using that other power of 2 to boost your tempo into and going back to that 5 times 4 equals 20. You can also do the same thing with other numbers that aren't powers of 2, like 25. But wait, if you try to factor it out, you get 5 times 5. But wait, there's no power of 2, so how do we do that? Well, we already mastered 5 clicks per second. We already mastered 5 clicks per second. It was this. So how do we multiply that by 5? This makes no sense to figuring out what the tempo would actually look like. So what we do is if we can do 5 clicks per second on one finger, that means 25 clicks per second would rely on 5 fingers. It would look like this. I know you can't exactly see 25, but I think you saw it in a fraction of a second. You see, yeah, that's 23 right here. Sometimes sometimes on mobile ghost tabs can actually appear, but on a PC it's actually doable. So, what? But wait, try a number. But wait, hold on. Try a number like 30. Try a number like 35. Wait, but hold on, guys. If composite numbers are easy, what about prime numbers like 23? How are we gonna find that number? How are we gonna find prime clicks per second? Well, some primes are actually near the composites. Say 23 is between 22 and 24. We first have to master the composites. We first have to master the composites. 22 is 11 times 2, and 24 is 6 times 4. How do we master those? Let's focus on 24 first because that seems easier. Let's focus on 6. We all know 6 clicks per second looks like this. I'm sorry if you saw that 6, 7. So if we have to double it, if so by quadrupling it, it looks like this. The next thing we're going to do is on the 20 is 22 part. Now 11 is that we have another prime here. 11 is also another prime. So let's go for 11. 11 is between 10 and 2. And 10 is 5 times 2. But we already know that 10 clicks per second looks like this. And 12 clicks per second looks like this, just by following the 6 times 2 rule. That means 11, and by that time we will already know that if 11 is between those, we can just slightly decrease from 12 and increase from 10. Let's try that. 10 is this, and 12 is this. Does that mean 11 is this? Let's slightly increase it. Oh. There is that 11. You saw that 11? We finally found what 11 looks like. Now that we find that 11 looks like that, we can apply that multiplier of 2. There's that 22. Oh, it's at 20. So we saw that 24 looks like this. And 22 looks like this. That means we can easily find 23 in between. There you go. You saw that 23? It was actually easy to find. And if we think in terms of fractions, the difference is so small that you can actually easily find 23 just by using this technique method. You can apply the same for other prime numbers, but for and stronger prime numbers, which usually take longer, but you will eventually find it, and now you will master, and soon you will be able to master all natural integers of these clicks. But wait, now let's get back into the index rolling part. Now let's get back to the indexing rolling part. Earlier I taught you how to find a pattern for this, and you was able to convert it to rolling like this. But what if you tried to index that pattern like this? If it gets too fast, you can actually convert it. But how? Well, first you have to First, you have to remember how many fingers you have. We all know we have 10 fingers, and we're only using 5. But notice that 5 is actually just half of 10, so we can easily convert. If we index 5, we roll 10. If we index 4, we roll 8. But hold on, how do we roll 9 though? How can we roll 9? Well, 9 is actually a pretty cool number we can use for multi-tapping again, but fast-paced constant. If we can constantly roll 8, then that additional part will be a multi-tap, considering that we have used 9 fingers. Now here's the crazy part. When will 7 fingers be used? We mastered 1, that was easy. We mastered 2, we mastered 3, the triplet or the multi-tapping. 4 is the doubling constant of 2. 5 is just a multi-tapping of that constant. 6 is just fast-paced multi-tapping and constant. 8 is just an upgraded version or grand version of that constant clicking. 9 is that multi-tapping with that same 8 finger tapping technique, and 10 fingers is that upgraded version or rolling version of the indexed rolling 5 fingers. That makes now what about 7? When do we use 7? Well, that's actually hard to find because 7 is a prime number. But 5 is also prime. But because it's close but because it's greater than the power of 2, it can be found just by multitapping. So when does 7 be used? Well, believe it or not, 7 can never be well, believe it or not, 7 can never be used in powers of 2. Why? A 7 is greater to a number like 6. And because 6 is 3 times 2, we found that 6 is just doubled of triplets. We all know triplets like this. Triplet, 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 triplet. So by using 6, we can double that triplet. That would mean we can add a multi-tap with 6, which finally reveals the seven finger technique. You also you often find these in these videos called parallel universe shifter, where a guy named Jipper actually used 7 fingers on that multi-tapping technique. Well, that's because each of the constants is actually just a triplet in disguise, just doubled. If this is triplet and this is double triplet, then a multi-tap version would be like this. Notice that this introduces the 7 finger technique. So if you thought that just decrease a finger from 8 because 8 is just a power of 2, but that doesn't work out because there is no standard technique for minus one fingers for minus one fingers. We in fact we don't know what that technique is. And so now that you mastered all 10 fingers, the last part is indexing all of them. It's the fast part. The last part is here are the final parts. Number here are third last indexing all fingers. We can indexing the even amount of fingers. We all know how to index 2 fingers and 4, but we can also index 6. And if we index 8, look how much it's skyrocketing. But watch as I try to index 10. The number gets to 100 several times and so fast. Wait, let me try that again. Saw that 127? That 127 actually popped up. Now why? It's because I used full energy on that indexing 10 finger technique. On the indexing finger technique. And because you only have 10 fingers, it's literally just all fingers, and you're using full energy, you can actually find your real limit in this clicks per second training. So, second finger last, memorizing the fast-paced pattern. We all know how to index all our fingers, right? But what if we want to find a pattern? Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we all know a multi-tap is just this. But what if a multi-tap is just another multi-tap? That would consider a multi-tap with 3 fingers. So 1 1 3 1 1 3 1 1 3. This is often used in louder multi taps, or in louder multi taps, or in a transition of a song. And these are, but how do we convert them into constantly? Well, we can roll 4 fingers, right? By adding that 3 multi tap finger, we only add 2 fingers. But why? Because that multi-tap is 3, we add 3, right? No. But why? We have to turn one of our fingers into a multi-tap. which means that 1 actually becomes a 3. So we actually added 2 fingers because 1 plus 2 is 3. Pulling back the constant, we get this. Y'all noticed that, right? Y'all noticed that, right? Multi-taps can also be used in 4 fingers, or 5, or 6, 7, 8, or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But these aren't often used. But a 10-finger multi-tap is often found in this song called Quomodo Conquizi by Camellia. And it's often found near the start middle song. And it often sounds like this. Did you notice something? You saw that? You saw that? Now in some masterous godlike songs, these kind of multi taps are actually used in these transitions. The level itself sounds like the song, like Hello BPM 2024, where it sounds so fast paced. The beat, where it sounds so fast, the beats actually get clustered together. If you want to listen to Hello BPM 2024, this is what I do to Hello BPM 2024. It's actually possible if you memorize the pattern, which can actually take up a lot of practice due to fast-paced rhythms. And that's pretty much it for the entire clicking tutorial. And I hope you guys learn more about this clicking. I'll see you in the next video.